Did you see Coco Gauff? Did you see her? Because she made history with her win at the French Open, and ABC's Ike Ajachi joins us now with...
She had just lifted the trophy. The dream she'd chased since she was a little girl hitting balls on cracked Florida courts. The French Open crowd roared her name. Cameras flashed. Confetti filled the air like golden dust. And then... silence. Her manager pushed through the reporters, pale as a ghost. "Coco," he whispered, "you need to take this call." At first, she thought it was another journalist, maybe a sponsor. But when she saw his expression, something inside her tightened. He handed her the phone like it was made of glass. On the screen, a name she didn't recognize. Giovanni Moretti. The man's voice was calm, Italian-accented, warm but deliberate. "Congratulations, Coco," he said. "You made history today." She thanked him politely, still unsure who he was. And then, without pause, he asked one question that changed everything. "How is your family?" Those 4 words hit harder than any serve she'd ever faced. It wasn't small talk. It wasn't flattery. It was as if he'd looked straight through the screen, past the champagne and cameras, into the private world she kept guarded. The world of sacrifice, worry, and quiet resilience. Coco hesitated. They're doing okay," she said, her voice trembling slightly. It was the answer you give when the truth is too heavy to explain. The truth that her parents had worked double shifts, skipped meals, slept in cars between tournaments, all so their daughter could hold this very trophy. Moretti didn't respond immediately. The silence stretched, heavy but compassionate. Then his tone softened. "You've brought joy to millions, Coco. But I think it's time someone brought a little peace to your parents." She froze. He continued. "I'd like to offer your mother and father positions within my foundation. They'll travel with you, help mentor young athletes, and advise on family development projects I'm launching." Coco's grip tightened around the phone. Her mind raced. Then came the number. A number so surreal that it barely sounded real. $200,000 per month. Each. The words echoed in her head like the sound of a stadium gone quiet. $200,000 sent every month. For her parents. She couldn't speak. The world around her blurred. The cheers outside the room, the flashing lights, even the weight of the trophy in her hands. It all vanished. For a long moment, all she could do was breathe. Then the tears came. Not the proud tears of victory, but the trembling sobs of a daughter who just realized her parents would never have to struggle again. Her team stood frozen, unsure what had just happened. Her coach whispered, "Coco, are you okay?" She nodded faintly, still holding the phone, tears running freely down her cheeks. In that single surreal moment, the French Open title, the symbol of everything she had worked for, felt small compared to what she had just heard. This wasn't about tennis anymore. This was about family, sacrifice, and a love that had finally been seen and rewarded. And just like that, the crowd outside erupted again, unaware that behind the curtain Coco Gauff's life had already changed forever. Before Coco Gauff became a name chanted in packed stadiums, before the sponsorships and flashing cameras, there was a family quietly fighting a battle that no one else saw. It began in a small, humid corner of Florida, a neighborhood where dreams cost more than rent, and hope had to be earned the hard way. Her parents, Corey and Candy, were never wealthy. Corey had once been a college athlete, disciplined and proud, but when Coco was born, he traded his own dreams for hers. Candy, a teacher, became the quiet anchor of the family, balancing bills, meals, and travel plans, while holding the family together with sheer willpower. Tennis was never a cheap dream. Every racket, every tournament, every flight ticket came at a price. Some nights they'd drive 12 hours just so Coco could compete in a junior event the next morning. They'd sleep in the car because they couldn't afford another hotel. When Coco was 10, she once caught her mother crying softly in the front seat. "We'll make it work," her dad whispered, gripping the steering wheel tighter. "We always do." They worked whatever jobs they could find. Coaching, cleaning, waiting tables, anything to keep her dream alive. There were nights when her father ate the leftovers from Coco's pre-match meal, pretending he wasn't hungry. There were mornings when Candy would sew patches on Coco's practice clothes while whispering prayers under her breath. And yet, through all the exhaustion, there was never bitterness, only belief. Corey had a saying he repeated before every tournament: "Pressure is a privilege." Coco absorbed that mindset like oxygen. Even when they couldn't afford a proper court, he made her run drills on empty parking lots under the hot Florida sun. "One day," he'd tell her, "people will see what I see." They were right, but it came at a cost. When Coco began winning, when her name appeared on junior rankings in sports magazines, outsiders assumed she came from privilege. They saw a talented girl, not the tired parents counting coins in motel rooms, or the family praying their car wouldn't break down halfway to another tournament. Even after she went pro, her parents didn't stop working. They refused to live off her prize money. Pride ran deep in the Gauff family. Corey continued to coach while Candy managed her travel schedules and schooling. When interviewers asked about their sacrifices, they always brushed it off. "We're just doing what parents do," Candy would say with a smile that hid a lifetime of exhaustion. But Coco saw everything. She saw the quiet arguments about bills, she saw her father's shoulders tense when the credit card declined, and she carried all of it with her, onto every court, into every match. That invisible pressure, the weight of wanting to give her parents the life they deserved, became her secret motivation. When she lost at Wimbledon, she wasn't just disappointed in herself. She felt she'd failed them. That's what made the French Open so important. It wasn't just another title, it was redemption. It was proof that the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the miles traveled, all of it meant something. And yet, when the victory finally came, and the world celebrated her as the next global star, Coco's thoughts didn't go to fame or glory. They went back to that car, that prayer, that whispered promise. She remembered the sound of her mother's tears and her father's voice saying, "We always do." Now, with one unexpected phone call, that promise was about to come full circle. En raison. It was just past 7 p.m. in Paris when Coco sat alone in her hotel suite, still dressed in her champion's tracksuit. The Roland Garros trophy gleamed on the table beside her, a symbol of everything she had worked for. Yet for some reason it felt distant, almost irrelevant. Her phone, still in her hand, buzzed again. The name Giovanni Moretti flashed across the screen. She took a deep breath and answered. His voice was composed, deep and precise, and the kind of tone that carries both authority and kindness. "Coco," he said, "I want to talk about your family." She hesitated. "My family?" "Yes," he continued. "I followed your journey for years. I've seen your father in the stands, nervous but proud. I've seen your mother closing her eyes when you serve. They remind me of someone I once knew, people who give everything for their child and ask for nothing in return." Coco's eyes welled up before she even knew why. Maybe it was the way he said it. Without pity, without fame in mind, just truth. Moretti went on. "I have a foundation. We work with young athletes, mentoring them, supporting families who sacrifice for their children's dreams. I would like to offer your parents positions with us as personal development consultants. They'll travel with you, support our athletes, and never have to worry about money again." Coco blinked, trying to process what she was hearing. I don't understand," she whispered. "What do you mean? Never have to worry again?" The line went quiet for a moment. Then softly Moretti said, $200,000 a month, each. For a moment, time stopped. The city outside was still buzzing with celebration, fans shouting her name, fireworks over the Seine. But in that small hotel room, the only sound was Coco's heartbeat. Her mind flashed back to every moment of struggle. Her mother counting change at gas stations, her father fixing her racket grip late at night, both pretending they weren't tired. All the pain, all the pressure, all the guilt she carried. It came rushing back, colliding with the weight of those words. $200,000 per month, not for her, for them. She pressed her hand to her mouth as tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't know what to say," she stammered. Moretti's reply was almost a whisper. "Say nothing. You've already said enough. Every time you stepped onto that court, every time you played with heart, let this be my way of saying thank you." The call ended. Coco sat in silence, shaking. Her team, still buzzing from the victory, walked in and froze. Her eyes were red, her voice trembling. He wants to take care of them," she finally said. "They'll never have to work again." Minutes later, she walked down the hallway to her parents' room. Her mother opened the door, still in tears from the victory, thinking her daughter had come to celebrate. Instead, Coco collapsed into her arms and whispered, "You don't have to worry anymore. It's over. It's all over." Her mother's knees gave way. Her father, the stoic man who never cried, sat down slowly, eyes glistening. For years they had carried the weight of a dream. Now, for the first time, they could finally breathe. The French Open trophy might have been Coco's victory, but that phone call, that was theirs. The morning after the French Open, Paris felt different. The headlines screamed, "Gauff makes history," but in the quiet of her hotel suite, Coco wasn't thinking about the press or the glory. Her parents were still asleep in the next room, their faces peaceful for the first time in years. For once, there was no alarm set for early practice, no financial worry waiting at the breakfast table, just silence and the soft hum of freedom. Giovanni Moretti had kept his word. The offer wasn't for show, wasn't tied to sponsorships or publicity. The contracts were already drawn, and the positions within his foundation were real and dignified. Her parents weren't being given charity. They were being given purpose, stability, and recognition. For Coco, that meant more than any check, because she knew what pride meant to them. Her father had always refused handouts, saying, "We work for what we have." Now they could continue working, but with dignity, not desperation. When reporters later asked her about the call, she smiled through tears. "It was the first time I saw my dad cry," she said quietly, "and that's when I realized this is what victory really feels like." The truth is, for many athletes, the greatest battles are fought off the court. The fear of failure isn't about losing trophies. It's about letting down the people who believed in you when no one else did. Coco had carried that burden for years. Every missed shot, every lost match, every sleepless night haunted by the thought that her parents had given up too much. Now that weight was gone, and with it came a new kind of energy. Her coach said he could see it immediately. She's lighter. She plays with joy now, not pressure. That joy, now pure and unshackled, would soon become her greatest weapon. But there was more to this story than tennis. It was about what happens when compassion meets sacrifice. In a world obsessed with headlines and wealth, an act of quiet generosity from a billionaire reminded everyone that goodness still exists. That empathy, not ego, can change lives. Moretti never held a press conference. He never posted about it. When journalists tried to contact him, he simply said, "This was between me, her, and her family. Some things don't need applause." And maybe that's what makes this story timeless. Because beyond the statistics, beyond the trophies, lies something greater. The simple, powerful truth that success means nothing if it doesn't lift the people who carried you there. Coco Gauff will keep winning titles, no doubt, but her most meaningful victory has already happened. In that small Parisian hotel room when a daughter's dream became her parents' peace. And perhaps that's a question we should all ask ourselves. What would true victory look like for you? Holding the trophy or holding the people who made you who you are? If this story touched your heart, hit like, share it with someone who believes in family, and subscribe for more true stories that remind us why sports matter. Not just for the wins, but for the humanity behind them. Because sometimes, the greatest triumphs don't happen on the court. They happen in silence between tears, love, and gratitude.